everyone, I'm Cynthia for Artbeads Cafe, and this is our first Artbeads Cafe live. We are very excited, and I have Cheri with me today.
Hi everyone.
Are you excited, Cheri?
Oh, of course.
So why are we doing live? It's because we love to interact with you. We love seeing your question, your comments, and being live, I think, is the best way to communicate with you. So if you have any question about anything, please let us know. Becky is behind the camera, so she will be the one reading your comments and reading your questions.
Hello.
Please be patient if sometimes there is something that doesn't work. We try. But I think we're pretty excited. And the theme that we choose today, it's something that I think everyone has at home, that's issue at home, is what do I do with my leftovers? We all have some beads that we don't know what to do with because we don't have enough to do a necklace, or we all have a piece of wire, a piece of leather, and so we wanted
what you do, what kind of beading you do, and we have our kind of leftovers.
Yes.
Yeah, let us know.
So Cheri, you brought your leftovers here. It's a beautiful bead soup.
It's a bead soup. Yeah, mostly beads.
It is gorgeous.
Yeah, so often you buy a beautiful strand of check glass beads for something, and you'll use most of those beads, but not all of them. Or a wonderful strand of gemstones, and so you put together a necklace, and maybe you've even made the pair of earrings, but you still have a bead or three or more left over. And so I'm sure they gather in a little cup or a little dish. For the most part, I keep my beads packaged. Okay. But once it's down to just just a few, then they tend to sit around and just get in a little dish or something. Exactly. And I have to say, some beads roll. They'll roll off the workspace and land on the floor. And every once in a while, you'll find a little treasure, and so that then goes in the little dish. But like we'll see with Cynthia, very often it's snippets of wire and ribbon. You've done something with leather, and you end up with this little piece you've cut off, and you think, what could I possibly do with a little piece? And we're going to show you.
So don't throw away things. You can always use them again. So you use a little dish like that for yours, and I use a little bottle like that. And I even put like leftovers of my work because here, and hoping you can see, I started to do something and then I stopped, and I thought, oh, I don't have the time to take the beads apart, so I've just put it in my bottle like that. So you see I have all kind of beads, but you never know, sometime maybe I need two of those crystal, red crystal, and I can look in there and it's like, okay, I have those here. So that's the way to keep your beads, and I love those little jars. They're so cute.
Yeah. And like you said, components. Sometimes you'll make little charms or little dangles, and something just won't be right for the particular thing that you're trying to make. Yes. But down the road, it may just be perfect for what you need. Yes, so I save those too, even though they seem like a mistake in the moment.
You have some cool leftovers, like those little flowers.
I just made too many.
Is there such a thing as too many, Cheri? Like just a tassel.
Extra little tassel. And, and I have to show you, I have this this clasp in here that happens to be magnetic. And at first I picked that up and went, what? But it's really handy, actually. It has gathered all the little snippets of chain and metal pieces. And so I kind of am finding this useful. You can just kind of swish that around in there, and it'll gather those things for you. Otherwise, you kind of have to dig.
You even have a needle in there. Be careful.
Yep, I've got a hook. There we go. So, little dangles. Yeah. Just didn't make it to the final cut, but save them. And then if you end up, gosh, what I really need is just that little blue bead, then cut it off. Yeah. But meanwhile, the whole dangle might come in useful.
Exactly. So we can show you, we have some examples here to show you what kind of jewelry we made. And here I wanted to show you what you can do with little pieces of leather. You see here I have very, very small pieces of leather, and I just needed 4 to make this really neat bracelet. So you can do things like that, or if we go to my necklace here, I have those teeny pieces of leather here, and I added a bead at the end and I just knotted the leather. So this is another way to use your scrap of leather. Then one thing that I do also is cut ribbons, and on this one I use this little piece of ribbon and I use this terracotta bead, and it's really cool because you can just how do you say that, mash it, flat it, yes, and then you hold the ribbon together. So don't throw away your teeny pieces of leather, your pieces of ribbon. You can always do something with them. And then chain, we all have leftover chain, and if you have this chain, I love this chain. This is a leaf chain, so every time you cut a link, you're gonna have 2 pieces of leaves coming out like that. So here I did this necklace, and I have this is all pieces of chain, and I have some leftovers of those leaves. So what I did is I made my own clasp here, and I added those leftovers chain right there.
That is so cute, like little charms.
I know.
Yeah,
so you can
one.
Yes, you can easily use them as charm with another chain. And I keep them all the time, so I have a good bunch of them in different finishing. But this is a clasp that I made. So this is the same pendant, and then I took the bar from a terracotta clasp, and I thought that was really great together. So this is a way to make your own clasp.
Really cute.
Thank you. And then chain, another way also to use your chain. So I made this necklace, and then I realized I didn't have enough of those flowers, and so my necklace was too short. So one way to finish, then you can add some chain. And what I like to do also is I use a spring ring, how do you call it?
A lobster clasp.
Lobster clasp, sorry.
Trigger clasp.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then if you have a long chain, then you can hook it at any part of the links, like you have several lengths of your necklace.
Yeah, it makes it adjustable.
That's nice. Does, yeah. So don't get frustrated if your necklace is too short because you don't have enough beads. Just add a chain at the end. And here, Cheri, you did those earrings with a chain too.
Right. I had little pieces. That one is just 3 different chains, and I think each one looks so pretty hanging from the bottom of a bead. Those crystals in that particular instance, but the lengths are just perfect for that, but they could easily be shorter and still be cute, right, or longer if you like them drapey, and each one's different. Like I said, they could even be 3 different colors of chain.
True. Yes, like doing a mixed metal.
Right.
That would be great. And on this one here, let me move those. On this necklace, again, I use some leftovers chain, and then I just put that on the necklace with I just hook that between the pearls.
Cheri is asking if she is on Artbeads Live. Yes, you are.
That is
cute. Cheri.
So yes, so this is really again an easy way to use your chain.
I love that. Yeah, all different.
All
right?
different.
Pretty much.
Yes, yes.
It's a great use.
Here, I use pearl, but you can easily do a chain, and then it would be really fun also with just a chain.
Love that.
And then pieces of wire. I'm sure a lot of you have pieces of wires leftovers, like teeny pieces like that. So what do you want to do with that? Don't throw those away. You can easily flat the end and make it as a head pin. So I can show you how to do that. And you can do that also, you see, with the copper, how it looks really great. So it's going to be a little noisy. So I have here, how do you call that, a steel block?
A bench block.
It's a bench block. And then I have this hammer, love this little hammer. And I'm just going to hammer it a little. And you see how it's getting flatter and flatter, and I keep going. And sorry for the noise, but this is a way to make a new head pin. So let's see, like on this one, what I did, So, and now I know that I can make a loop. I have enough wire right there. to do it.
It seems intimidating, you know, that you need a block and a hammer, but that just took a second for you to flatten out your wire. And so often you have so much wire left over, and it can go to waste. And that's a perfect way to use it.
Exactly. So that's very easy. And another way that I really like is to use the finial. I hope I said that right.
Yes, you did.
Okay. It's a word that always intimidated me. So the finial are those little beads, and the hole is not all the way through. And what you do is you glue them at the end of your wire. So let's take this piece of wire here, and I use the super glue. You can use also the epoxy 5, but the super glue works really well for me. And what you do, it's very easy. I'm just pressing on my bottle, and here you see how the glue is coming out. So I spread it a little on the top of my wire, and then I take my finial and just put on it, and I press. And the super glue should be really, really fast. And I didn't bring it today, but usually I have like a toothpick, and I see I have some glue coming out here, so I kind of rub it off. So you hold that. The super glue should take like 5 minutes, and then you can add any bead out of that. So Cheri, I'm gonna borrow one of your bead. Let's see, can I put this one on? I think so. There we go.
Cute.
That's really cute. And then you have enough space here to make a loop. It's very easy. And we have so many different colors of the finial. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Just love this color.
A little bit of gold shimmer, huh?
Yes, and if you want to do with something like this one, kind of a black and brown, we have like a copper, dark red copper one. And I can show you this necklace that I did with the crystal, and kind of dressed up the crystal at the end.
Pretty.
So I love that. I do. And you know, when you have I was thinking, when I was preparing with the finial, I was thinking one project would be really neat if I take a bead soup like that, put the finial on it, and then make a bracelet and full of them go like that.
That'd be beautiful.
All different colors. I think that would be really neat.
What I love about that one is the crystal is crystal ab, which reflects all kinds of different colors.
Right.
So then the different colored finials sort of pick up and play with all that. So I think that's a fun use.
Yeah, that would be really great.
Pretty.
So this is one project I'm thinking now.
Yay.
So now let's talk about beads. What do you do with your leftover beads? So here I brought some rings, and I think they are the perfect example of what you can do. Like, for example, this is a Grace Lamper beads, and they come in a strand. And sometimes I use all of them from the strand, but sometimes I use just maybe 3 or 4, and I have one left over. So the ring is a perfect use. It's a perfect way to use your bead. The same for stone. This is a 2-hole gemstone, and I made it out of bead. And then here, what do I have here? A drusies. Yes,
it's so pretty.
This is really pretty, and this is a Swarovski pearl, actually, a big pearl.
The messy wrap, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. So, and I have here on my finger, this is a gemstone. And if you don't know how to make those rings, you can go on our design studio, and I'm sure Katie will do a link to show you how to make those rings. They're very, very fun to do.
Right.
And Cheri, you use also some gemstone down there.
Right. So these are the most beautiful, colorful pendants. They come on a strand where you get a lot of them.
Yes.
And very often you're not going to use every single one. So you have these leftovers, and so just the messy wrap. This one, I added a few little beads to the wire as I was wrapping, and that's just the cutest, fastest little way to make a pendant. So same with these two, just added the beads. This bead is on top of the wrap before I made the loop, and then those beads were added as I went. So really fun. Here with some leftover drusies, and we have this wonderful spike pendant from Nunn Designs.
Right.
And I thought that the gold in these was so pretty. So those are just wrapped right onto the spike, and that could be any bead. It could be 5 different beads, different sizes, and that would be so fun. So I thought this was a good example of what you could do with leftovers. And then this one, and these ideas are on the website also. This one is just a wire wrap with a spiral twist to it, and then finished off with a messy wrap at the top. But again, 3 stones, any 3 would be really fun. It
can be a pendant or a pair of earrings.
Right, really right. These are safety pins that we made with wire, just the copper wire on the spool, and we have how to do that on the website also. And then you can treat them differently. You can put a little loop to hang your little leftover check bead owl or whatever, just a few beads stacked, and then some dangles here. Oops,
that's so cute.
Multiple dangles. Yeah. So that's another fun way to put leftovers to use. Becky made these gorgeous earrings. These are Nunn Design frame, and it's such a fun shape. And then she filled it with these beads. She just went from like one place to another and strung and wrapped and strung and wrapped. And again, you could fill that up with anything, and it would be gorgeous.
Really nice, Becky.
Yeah. I love those.
Kimberly said you could have multiple episodes on this subject because it's fascinating.
Oh, good. Yay.
and again, please let us know what kind of leftovers you have. I mean, we love challenges, and we love hearing questions and figuring out what we can do to help you. So please let us know.
Yay.
But, thank you, Kimberly.
Cynthia did these necklaces, and these are 2 wire rings.
They are 2 wire rings, 2 like big jump rings, and then you use just a little of beads here and there, and then you just wrap wire around it.
I love that.
Again, yes.
And again, can be any kind of bead as long as it's going to fit, the frame, and you just kind of work that out as you go.
Yes, exactly. There was no pattern. I just went, like you say, as I go. Yeah.
Yay. This is the easiest, fastest way to use beads. We have this darling bottle, and it has a cork on top that pulls out, and you can just simply place your little treasures inside there. These happen to be leftovers from a CB blend, and you can fill it completely. I left it a little empty. Maybe you put a little sparkle in there, a little crystal or something to accent that. But so fast and easy and pretty.
They're pretty, and those little bottles come from Nunn Design. I just love the detail of them too. And like you say, put your little treasure, your beads that you really like.
Right. And they just shine and sparkle, and the color shows up really well. So those are fun. And then you can put them on a chain or ribbon or whatever you want.
Yes. What else do we have?
This is a way to use perhaps a larger focal, like a leftover grace bead. Just simply put it on a strand of leather, knot it on each side. This is a sliding bead. It's a kind of a grommet, and then you just put your leather through each direction, tie it in a knot, done. So super fast way. You might have just a beautiful large-sized bead that just needs to be shown off, and that makes really good use.
Yes.
Cynthia, you did this necklace.
Oh, okay. So those were not with leftovers, but I just wanted to show you what you can do with leftovers. So it's pretty much, I just knotted between beads. So you can add any type of beads and then just knot. And really on this necklace, I didn't think at all about the length in between the beads.
Very random.
Very random. So that's the beauty of it. Right. You can do, any way you want to do it. And here I use some spacers and some gemstone. But again, imagine all those beads here,
how pretty,
knotted like that. That would be so pretty.
Pretty and colorful. Yeah, that'd be beautiful. Beautiful. And pretty easy to do. Once you've done a few knots, then the rest are just more the same.
Yes.
And it gets easier and faster too, I bet.
It does,
as you go.
Kimberly said if you have to open these bottles in a bead emergency, they're right there with you.
I love that. You never know when that might happen.
That's such a good fun, Kimberly. I love it.
Somebody's asking, would you consider using a crimp instead of knotting on something like this necklace?
Definitely. Maybe, I'm not sure on this.
Maybe not on fiber.
Yes.
Crimping metal on fiber could cut into the fibers. Excuse me. But you certainly could do that with other types of stringing materials, where like a floating necklace where you have your bead and then you flatten your crimp on each side.
Yes.
So just depends on the material you're working with. But different, and that goes so fast.
Yes.
That's a really fun way to do that.
It does, yes. But
same overall look.
Yeah, but like you say on fiber, I'm hesitating too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, good question. Good question.
Cheri, I love how you made these.
So
those little earrings.
These are wire hoops.
Okay.
And this is just one row of simple basic chain stitch crochet, but done around a wire, and you just add one bead per stitch, or you can skip a bead if you want per stitch in between. This happens to be all the same bead, all the same color, but how cute would those be with different colored beads and maybe a natural colored thread, or a bright color that contrasts with the colored beads that you're working with. So I thought this would be a fun way. And they don't all have to be the same size. It can be different size beads, maybe larger in the middle, smaller as you go around, but really whatever you want I thought would make good use of that.
Carol wants to know what the stringy material is on your floating necklace, Cynthia.
On this one, this is the Artbeads thread. Do we have some? Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, so this is the Artbeads thread, and I love it. We have different colors. Let me give you some tip with the Artbeads thread when I was doing this. So maybe I can show you. Can I open that? Yes. So what I did at the beginning, I took my thread out, and I realized when I was knotting, and then I put on my knot, it stretched a little. So I kind of stretch it first. Yeah, I was thinking de-stretch. No, stretch it.
Stretch it. Yeah.
So I stretch it first like that with my hand over and over. And that really helped when I made my knot, and when I put on my knot, the knot was not moving. So do that several times, cut the length that you need, and then just stretch the cord. Yeah, but this is a really nice cord. I mean, it's really nice to make knots out of it. And the colors.
Smooth. Yeah, the colors are beautiful.
They're really beautiful. Yeah. And you use them a lot too.
And it softens up. It doesn't feel real stiff.
Right.
It comes off the spool a little stiff, but as you say, as you stretch it and work it, it really softens. So it's beautiful.
Right. Yes. So it's the Artbeads thread. Yeah. Thank you, Cheri.
Yeah. And so, there's so much. But how about seed beads?
Yes.
So these are just the simplest little chain necklaces. You can either buy chain or buy a ready-made chain. Depending on the ready-made chain, you might be able to take that jump ring off the end or not.
Right.
Kind of depends. So buying unfinished chain that you can thread onto is generally going to be the best practice, and then slide on your seed beads. And then these are crimped. These are crimps that are just flattened to the chain, like the person was asking before. They're not fully crimped, not like folded, but just simply flattened, and then that keeps the little beads from sliding around. And you don't have to crimp those. If you want the beads to move, you can do that too.
Yeah, and we've been seeing a lot of necklaces like that, just a little of seed beads. Yes. And I've been seeing also like multiple, so you're gonna be one here, and a long one.
Layer them.
And just a little of seed beads. So those are perfect.
So pretty. And there's so many beautiful fine chains
yes.
too, in all different colors. So that's just a fun way to.
Yes.
And it doesn't take very many beads. I mean, 10.
I know.
I'm not sure what's there, but something much more than that.
And the size of these are 8/8, right?
I think these are 8s. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You just need to make sure that the chain fits through the whole size. So yeah, pretty much 8 and 6s would be real easy. 6/0. Mm-hmm. And then Cynthia, You did this. These are 11-aught seed beads.
And I had a little of seed beads left, so I wanted to do just like a bead. A beaded bead. That I put on this bracelet after that. So it's just a peyote band, and then I fold it and I sew it together.
And zip it up.
Yes.
And again, that could be all different colors. Could just be random colors. That would be beautiful. Beautiful. This is a bracelet they did a while back. And in here are, I'm pretty sure these are 8-aught beads. So it's just a row of beads and a little snippet of ribbon. Another different little snippet of ribbon. You could even work leather snippets in here. All kinds of fibers would work. And then here's another little row of beads. So those could easily, again, be multi-different colors. And use up extra beads that way. This is just a fun piece. I made a loop on the end with a button closure. And then this is done on a loom.
Okay. And you just
very easy.
Put the thread.
Yeah, you just weave the fibers, or just you weave them through the warp threads.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looks really great.
Yeah, fun.
Just love this one.
That's a fun piece.
Yes. And this is again type of necklaces that we've seen a lot with just a little of bead.
So this is again just a simple chain and an eye pin on the end with these happen to be labradorite, which are gorgeous, and I love the different sizes of the chips, but it doesn't have to be that. Again, it can be anything. So here I have this beautiful check glass focal, and then a couple soft ivory check glass, and then some fire polish. This one has some chips in the center. Maybe that's all you have left.
Right, yes.
And then all different colored beads. So really easy, pretty orange, flat, accented with some beads. And you just want to make sure that you leave enough room on your end to form a simple loop or a wrap loop. This has a simple loop on this end, so a wrap loop or a simple loop is going to be better. But you could easily do this on wire too, and either start with a wrapped loop if you like. And then I love this. I just think this bright blue, happy little flower, really cool. And leaf is so pretty. So easy.
You know what is funny, Cheri? I'm looking at this and I was like, oh, this is so cool. And I'm thinking, I cannot wait to look at my leftovers at home and try to match them together to do something simple like that. I mean, that is a fast necklace to make.
Great gift. And then this chain, this was a finished chain. I just cut it in the middle.
Okay.
And then inserted the piece that I made.
Oh, so that was already a finished necklace.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's a really fast. It comes with the jump rings and the clasp already there. Again, of course, you can use chain by the foot and put your own hardware on there.
Right.
But,
and like you
that
said,
was super fast.
Yes, and you say that's a great present to make. Yes, Christmas is soon.
Yeah. You can make a bunch of these in a few hours.
That's true. That's true. I love that. I love this idea.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
Yes.
And then wire. When you're making jewelry with stringing wire, you're always cutting off excesses.
Yes.
And it seems so wasteful to toss them, but you think, what could I possibly do with a short little piece of wire? And well, you could do a pair of hoop earrings, and they don't have to be this big. They could be smaller than this, but really simple pair of hoops is a great way to use up the wire. And then it's just connected at the top with a jump ring to the ear wire.
Right.
And this pair happens to have fire polish with a lot of different colors, but it could be something larger like this. You've got, let's see.
And like you say, if your wire is even smaller, the earring can be even smaller too.
It can be a smaller hoop.
Yes.
But you've got, let's say, this gorgeous little amethyst left over, and then go through that soup and see what looks pretty next to that.
Yes.
And or it could be all different beads. Right. Again, just whatever you want.
And I need to show you how Cheri collects her pieces of wire. This is how she does. She has a magnet, and she has all her wires on the magnet, and you even have all of this on your shelving, right?
I have shelving that has a metal strip, and so I have magnets all over that strip that I connect things to, but I have one just for wire, even longer pieces. I didn't bring those because I thought they were a little unruly, but but it's so handy. And then I can just see right there. Yeah. Oh, there's one just about the right length.
You see the length? It's such a great idea. All my PCs are in a basket, and then it's a mess, and I love that.
Yeah. So they're always handy.
That's a great idea, Cheri. That's fun.
Well, and then one of my favorite things to do with, just beads, are these crocheted necklaces. And I have to say, I don't know how to crochet. All I know how to do is that initial chain stitch. Cynthia knows crochet. All I know is how to do the simple chain stitch. But you can make the most beautiful necklaces with that technique, and it's so fun. It's not a fast process, but it is you sit down in front of the TV cozy process for sure. So I just love it. This piece definitely has a color palette, but you can see it's all different kinds of shapes and colors and sizes. And then I used a real bright, vibrant stringy material to go with this one. You can use embroidery or crochet thread. I've got a couple examples here.
Kimberly uses magnets for needles too.
Oh yeah, me too. Yes. Yeah, it's perfect for needles. I try keeping my needles separated by size on my magnets, but then I'll take a needle off my magnet and use it, and then I forget what size needle I'm using, and then so it goes on a general all sizes magnet to the side. But that's a great idea. I love that. This is crochet thread, and this is a light colored thread with dark beads. When I got it done, honestly, I kind of wished I'd used a dark thread. Oh, really? The thread color can make such a difference in how it looks. I mean, I think this lavender's pretty, and it went really well with the sweater that I was kind of aiming for. But I thought, oh, how pretty would that be with a real deep fiber? So different looks.
Kelly wants to know, what size hook do you use for this?
The one I'm using is right here. This is, I think it's a 4. It's an E4. It's a 3.5 millimeter. So it's that. Do I have that upside down?
I can't tell. Okay, E4, yeah.
In there. Yeah. And this seems to be, I've done all of these pieces here with this hook, and there's different fibers, but they're similar in weight. If you were doing a finer wire, you might want a finer hook, or a heavier fiber, a heavier hook. This one was done on the Amiette. This particular fiber is variegated. It goes from kind of light to dark, and it is turned out to be just my favorite.
I do too.
At first I saw it and went, oh, variegated. And I love it. It just, you don't really even notice in the finished piece that it's variegated, but it just gives the subtle differences that I think is so pretty.
Kyla wants to know, how easily do the beads get onto the thread?
I'm going to show you that.
So we're having a treat today. Cheri's going to show us how to do a necklace.
I'll show that in a couple minutes. First, what I'm going to do is show you kind of how I go about setting up a necklace.
For doing a crochet.
For doing the crochet, yeah. For example, this piece has large beads and small beads, and it is a random pattern. The beads aren't measured and with even distances between them, but I do want some continuity, throughout the piece. So you don't want to just start threading all your beads onto your strand, because you have to do that first.
Right.
And then find out, all my big beads are at this end.
Right.
And now all I have left are little beads. That's going to be, if that's what you're going for, that's fine. Excuse me. So I like to lay mine out first, and we're working with soup, which is all different colors and different shapes. So I also want to get color placement spread out a little bit. And so I like to start with the larger beads, and in this case focals, because I have some wonderful check glass in here. I have this darling owl. So, and I'm working with this bead tray. This Dazzle It bead tray has 3 grooves. This groove goes all the way around, and then it has 2 grooves, and then it's got these wonderful compartments for putting your beads and different things. And I love using this type of tray for this kind of project. So even though this bead doesn't roll in there, it'll stay put.
Right.
So there's an orange owl. And then if I go to my soup, I'm finding these gorgeous leaves.
Susan says she used to make mini crochet wire necklaces multi-strand.
Oh, yeah, beautiful. They're so pretty.
Did you say wire?
Yeah, wire.
Oh,
wire.
gorgeous.
That's a hard crochet to make too, because I did some of them, but it's very different from a thread. Wow. We love to see that.
Yeah,
yes.
the wire crochet has such a pretty delicate look.
Yes.
So I'm just kind of placing these leaves here and there, and you can move these around as you go, but I think 3 leaves is a fun balance. And these sweet little birds. I'm finding a couple of these darling little check glass birds, and they're light colored. And so I'm just gonna place them. I've got that orange owl, and I'm finding these beautiful check glass. I've got 3 of these, and my orange is over here, so I might spread some orange. I love orange.
You do?
So I'm gonna put plenty of orange in there. What next? There's a couple of these.
Yeah, I was looking at those. Really nice beads.
Pretty kind of cathedral style.
Someone's asking how to finish the end of the crochet necklaces.
Okay, I won't actually finish one, but I can tell you about that after we get rolling. It's almost as easy to finish it as it is to start it. So it's really pretty easy.
And it is addicting, really.
Right.
You keep doing it.
Yeah. I've got these pretty blue. I've got the dark blue tree and the bright blue flowers. So I'm going to kind of spread some blue around. And so you get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
You just kind of get your larger focals, the things that are maybe going to pull it together in place. And then I like all different sizes. So then I'll start putting different colors and different sizes between the beads. And I like that change up from little bead to big bead. I think it looks pretty on the necklace.
Cheri, when I look at the board like that, I'm thinking, that's going to be a small necklace. But it won't, right?
It won't. That's going to be a next question. Somebody's going to ask me, I just know. So how do you know how much thread to use? And or how many beads to string, and that's tricky. You can try and do a bunch of math and figure that out,
right.
Or you can lay out the beads that you have and see how far that goes, and maybe lay them so they're touching, so they're all kind of touching,
right.
And measure that. And so let's say that measures 20 inches. Well, the crochet is going to add. How much is it going to add? It kind of depends on the bead sizes. And with something like this, you're using so many different bead sizes that's going to vary. So that's hard to calculate too. So I work on my fiber. I don't cut it ahead of time so that I have all the fiber I need. If you don't have that option, then I'm going to say maybe 5 times the length. And it's going to vary. So, but it just kind of expands.
Yes.
And so then you might say, well, I don't want to end up with a 50-inch necklace. So maybe lay the beads out for, say, 12 inches. And then figure maybe it's going to, it doesn't really triple, but I think it more than doubles. And again, it just depends on the beads you're using and the size differences and shapes. And since you've got that up here, one of the things I do is when you go from a large bead to a small bead, I put a stitch in between, because if you don't, then this bead can just slip right through into the loop that this bead is in, the larger bead. And so that adds a little bit of length and uses up some yardage as you go. So
and usually those crochet necklaces, they are designed to be long because they are designed to be multi-strand also.
Yeah.
Lots of people, they wear there in 2, in 3. And I think when you start doing it, you're not going to want to finish it. So it will end up very long.
Right.
But this is what the fun is, because then you can do it multi-strand.
And it's super easy to take those last few beads off. You just simply pull your hook out and just pull the loops, and the beads just slide down the threads. So it's easy to shorten.
Okay.
It's harder to lengthen.
Right.
But that's not impossible either.
It's just beautiful, all those beads together.
Right.
It's really neat.
And that reminded me, when you were holding it up, you might say, well, do I even need to finish with a clasp at the end? And you don't. If it's long enough to slip over your head, you can finish by tying your thread, by sort of weaving it into the other end of the stitches. But what I like to do is, I love wrap bracelets.
Look at that. It looks beautiful.
And of course, this one's pretty long for that. But if you don't have a clasp, then you have to try and squeeze those last rows on, and that can kind of damage the necklace. It's hard on it. Right. And then it's sort of a loose fit after that. So that's not ideal. So I kind of like adding a clasp just for that purpose, but also it does make tripling or doubling a necklace easier too.
Right.
Michelle's asking, could you use chain in between the beads to make it longer?
In between.
But when you mean chain, mean the chain
the
stitch?
Stitches?
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know if she means chain, the chain stitch, or actual chain. You could certainly not a short strand of crochet to chain, right?
Right, but then you've got, are you going to finish that off and then start a new piece of thread, which isn't necessarily ideal. She may mean, not that you
Michelle means crochet chain.
Crochet chain,
okay.
Is definitely, you could have, you could have an inch here, you could have a 1/4 inch, you could have sort of this look where you've got a bead and then you've got a nice strand of chain stitch and another bead and so on. So you can do it however you want, and it would be beautiful.
You kind of did it on this one, for example.
Right, yes, exactly. Yeah, that has a little more fiber in between.
Yeah.
And this one I tend to wear as a bracelet more, and it just lays nice. The beads sort of bobble in between each other when you wrap it, so it looks fuller once it's on the wrist. Okay, I'm going to walk around the table and show you how to, Becky's going to be behind me, so you can kind of see how, if you were the one actually with the
Right. So you're going to have a better look with the camera being above Cheri's shoulder. So.
Okay, so here you can see I've got my spool of my thread, and I already have some beads on here, but first I want to tell you how I fix the end to get it ready. This is a twisted fiber, and so this frays, and it would be really difficult to get your beads strung on this. So I take a little piece of cardboard or aluminum foil or any kind of piece of plastic I find laying around, and I just squeeze a little bit of glue on that. It can really be any kind of adhesive, but if you want to get going, then you want to use a quick dry. And so I just put a little puddle, and then I just kind of roll the thread kind of like this in that puddle, and twist and turn, and even kind of do this sort of thing to kind of coat it. If it's instant glue, don't put your fingers together, but so it's kind of smooth. And then let that dry, good and dry, and then I give it a sharp cut with sort of an angled cut with my scissors, and that makes a nice sharp point. And then you can get a lot of these beads on easier without the fray.
So you kind of make a needle.
Exactly, it's like a glued needle. Yeah. And
Marisol, Marisol has said that she has crocheted with elastic to make stretch bracelets.
Oh, wow. Fun! That's
elastic.
A great idea.
Wow, that's something to try.
Yeah.
I never thought about it.
That would be fun. Let's do that. Thank you, Marisol. Great idea. So once this is good and dry and it's got a good angle on it, then you want to thread all your beads on. And again, you don't really know exactly how many beads that's going to be. So safer to thread on more, too many, if you have too many.
Right.
And not everyone has too many, but if you do, then thread on too many. And then slide them down a little bit. And then just a quick start. And this is in our website also. You can find the instructions on how to do all this there. But you may make a loop. And then the hook end goes through, and then depending on which way you put it or make the loop, it's either the tail that's going to hold it tight or the other end. And then you're going to make a few just plain stitches to start with. So there's one. Now keep in mind, I'm not a crocheter. I am not fast, and I do not have the whole fingering thing down, but basically you're coming around it, hooking that, and then pulling that through. So there's another stitch. Now it's time for a bead. So for those of you who crochet, you can get several beads up around your hand and get them up close and workable. I'm not going to do that. I can't say I can't do it, but for this purpose, I'm going to keep it simple. And I've got one bead here. This is my first bead, and it's a small one.
So do you always start with a small one?
I kind of like to start with a small one. You don't have to, but I think I tend to. So I'm hooking it, and I'm kind of pulling and holding onto that bead so that I can get that stitch around it, and then tight. Voila. And then we'll bring up the next bead. This is sort of an odd shaped chip bead. And so again, I'm going to hold on to that bead, and then I'm going past it, hooking, and then tightening up the stitch around it. And here's one that's a little bigger. Now, I could put an extra stitch in here because I've got a smaller bead, but it's not too small. So I don't know that I have to put an extra stitch. It certainly wouldn't help to, but I'm not going to. And then one of the things I've noticed, when you've got a big bead, you want to kind of loosen, see how we'll unhook, see how I'm kind of loosening this loop so that it's almost up here. If I can point up here, I'll use this as a pointer. Right there is where I'm going to hook it. So I want to make sure that I'm getting enough fiber or string up to that point ahead of time. I'm hooking it and then through the hook. So now you can see the back of that stitch. You've got those two strands running behind it. If you don't loosen it up first, it becomes really tight and you might not be able to get it around the bead. So here I have a smaller round bead, and I am going to go ahead and take a stitch, a plain stitch, there first. Okay, you crocheters, don't be frustrated with me and my technique here. There we go. And now a stitch around.
Cheri was saying she likes that you're not a crocheter because it makes it more approachable. Non-crocheters can do it too.
Yes, we can do it.
Anybody can do it.
It's so easy. And once you've got an inch or two rolling, then it just becomes, so much easier. And I can actually get several beads on my fingers and go for a little while without being too cumbersome. I just want to show you one more time. Here's a big bead, and again, so I've got this tight loop down here, but I want to loosen that loop all the way up so it's right there where I'm going to take that stitch. That makes it a lot easier. And I'm going to hook that, pull that through. And this one definitely needs another stitch after.
Oh, that's a great tip, Cheri, for this big one, for the big bead.
Yeah.
I didn't know you make the loop the same size of the bead, actually.
Yeah, otherwise it's going to be way back here, and then your owl is going to be sideways in that strand and or tight. You just might be able to make that stitch. So anyway, there's the start of the little piece. Yeah. Isn't it cute? I'll go ahead and cut this as if I'm finishing.
Right.
And
do you have scissors?
Yeah, I do.
Yes, I do.
A little pair of scissors here. So I still have my hook in that loop. And depending on if you're going to attach this to hardware or not, you need a little bit of thread to work with.
Marianne has a question. Do all the beads that you are planning to use already have to be strung on your string before you begin crocheting?
Preferably. So let's say I'm done, but I still have beads here. I'm going to cut my thread, those beads go away, I'm done. But what if I didn't string enough beads on? I've made this strand and oh gosh, that's just too short.
Right.
What do I do? So what you're going to want to do is unspool your thread. Give yourself plenty if you can. Cut it down here and then thread your beads on from that end. You can add more beads from there, but you want to make sure you have enough working thread to crochet with.
So always better to put more beads on your thread.
Exactly.
Than not enough.
Yep, that's preferable.
Okay.
But that doesn't always happen.
Right.
So yeah, it's not a done deal. You can add them from the back end later as long as you've got enough material. So I'm going to cut that. And then this loop, I'm going to, same working loop I've been using, and then you just feed the end through the loop and pull it. And there's your knot. And then you can, now I've ended with a large bead. I would typically have ended with a smaller bead, done a few chain stitches first, 2 or 3 maybe, or more if you want to, and then finish off with that knot. And then with this, you can tie that through a jump ring onto a clasp.
Right.
And then I will typically use a needle. Even a big eye needle is great if you have one. And then I'll try and weave this through some of the stitches that I've made near the end. And that's where having a few stitches at the end comes in handy, because you can just weave that in, knot it off, and hide it that way.
Okay.
So
Can
does
you
that
show that? No, well, this is another way that you did to finish your necklace.
There we go. Oh, these are the, this was a great idea.
Forgot.
So these are bead tips. And so what I did was I just made a few stitches. You can see, 3 or 4 chain stitches there. And then I tied a good knot. And then this little bead tip, it's like almost like a little clamshell. The jump ring here is holding these 2 loops open, but it opens up. And then you've got these 2 little sides. And then there's a little hole right down here so that you thread that thread through that hole, tie a knot, maybe put a little adhesive on the knot if you want to, and then you close that clamshell around the knot, let that dry. You can snip your extra tail and then hook your jump ring through those 2 loops and then onto your clasp. And so that's actually a great finish.
Right, and Becky, I think we do have a tutorial on the site to show how to finish with the bead tip.
Yes, we have bead tip tutorials in our design
and
studio.
those bead tips are really great if you do knotting pearl, for example, for any type of thread that you work with and you want to finish and hook to a clasp. You can use those bead tips. They're really, really nice. Here, Cheri, you did another way. It's you created with a button.
Right.
So you did more of the chain stitch and then hooked a button and you just knot.
And then just kind of wove the tail back into those previous knots.
Right.
And then there I did extra chain stitch to make a loop.
Yes, and then you just wrap the thread here, so that makes a loop for the button. This is a really great idea too. And then you have one more.
Yeah, this is a multi-strand. This is one of my favorites. I just love the colors in this. So here's multi-strands, and so I just finished each end with a few stitches, and then I bundled them together and tied them together with an overhand knot. Okay. And then with a piece of wire hooked into that bundle where that knot is, and then pulled it into this bead cap, which is a beautiful way to finish these off, and then finished that off with a bead and a wrapped loop. So that's an easy way to finish.
Yes. That's really nice too.
I think I have one that doesn't have a clasp, but because you can do that. Maybe I don't have an example here, but you can definitely do one without a clasp.
I think. This one. Oh, you use the bead tip again.
There we go.
This is a bead tip here. 2 of them. Yeah, those are great.
Having done it different ways, using the bead tips is probably the fastest,
right,
and easiest, and looks really nicely finished.
Yes, it does.
That's probably my favorite.
It does.
Rather than trying to weave that back through, but you certainly can. I've done it several times.
What I like also, it's protect your knot close to your clasp. So and inside the bead tip, you're making a knot, and then you add some glue in it. So everything is tight and everything is secure, and you knot it inside. So it's a great way to finish those. Cheri, thank you so much for showing how to crochet.
Yes,
I mean, it is really fun, and again, this is something that we've been seeing, and I don't think it's a trend that's gonna die. I mean, it's so easy to use, especially with a beautiful bead soup like that.
It is. It's sort of it's just a great beginner way to learn a little bit about crochet and a little bit about beads. So I love that one. But then there's all this. So many options.
There are so many. Well, thank you, Cheri, for doing this first Artbeads Cafe Live with me. That was really exciting. Thank you so much for joining us today on this first Artbeads Cafe Live. I hope you enjoy it. Please join us next time. So we're gonna have a mix of live cafe and normal cafe like we do usually, but we will let you know when we do them live, and I will let you know about the theme also. Like if you have any questions during the live video, that would be great.
Yeah,
too.
It's nice hearing them in the moment, so we can respond. And
and your ideas too. We love hearing how you do things too. So, and if you are not subscribed to our newsletter, please make sure to subscribe to the newsletter, because you can see all our promotion and our tutorial and our great ideas too. So, thank you so much for joining us today. Bye bye. Merci beaucoup.
Bye.
Au revoir.